Whether you've been married for 50 years or 5, chances are you may have fallen into a rut at some point of your relationship. And that's why our next guest says it's so important to date your spouse. Lindsay Reach wrote a book on this topic. She was so passionate about it. She said, I'm going to write a book about it. She just tells us all about it this morning. And so we welcome you.
Thank you.
Well, I kind of got her credentials. She's been married 8 years. She's happily married. And so we can accept advice from somebody who is still married and still going strong. You say, though, that this goes beyond just the date night, because a lot of us do that. I'm sure you do that. I do that. We all do that.
Yes. Yes, with this book, I talk about in there how every day you have to be doing these little things to keep that spark alive. So not just your dates on the weekend, you've got to be every day waking up in the morning and thinking, what can I do today that's different, that I didn't do yesterday, that will keep the spark alive, that will show that I love my spouse. And I talk about every one of those ideas in my book. So.
Okay, so let me be the naysayer just a little bit, because you've got some gals that maybe been 20, you know, I've been married for 7, she's been married for 8. And they're going, okay, ladies, you know what? Yes, that sounds great, but we've been married 25 years, and let me tell you, honey, it's going to be hard to do that in 25 years. What would you say to those folks?
So not true. In fact, I just talked to a group the other night. They were all 80 and older. They've been married for several years, and I have to say that a lot of couples that have been married that long that are still happy, they're doing things differently. They're not just they're not just going out on a date once a month or just doing simple things here and there. It's an everyday thing. And what it's really about is, do you have interest in your spouse? Do you love your spouse? Do you want to get to know who your spouse is every day, because we're constantly changing throughout the course of our marriage. And if you realize that and you accept your spouse through their differences and their changes, it's just so much better than just, you know, hey, we're married, we're in it for the long run, but why do anything different?
Right, there's no passion.
There's no passion, and that's what it's all about. If you want to have a good, happy, healthy marriage, you need to have that passion, just like you would your job.
Well, and I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. If you think about it, every Valentine's Day we hear about these couples that have been married, I don't know, 100 years, whatever. And we hear, you know, the question is, well, how'd you stay together? And the one I always remember is this couple, and they wrote love letters to each other every single day of their marriage. Every single day. They wrote, but the gal said they weren't always love letters. Sometimes they were just letters, but I always loved them.
Yeah.
But so getting to that point, you're choosing to do things. Give me some other examples.
Yes. There's so many things you can do. I have on the table here, I don't know if you want to take a look at that, this little bottle of orange perfume. I love to use that as an example because when I first met my husband, our very first date, he gave me that bottle of perfume. And I can't tell you how many times since then I've sprayed that perfume and I think about that first night, those feelings that I felt about him, all because of that one simple gift he gave me over 8 years ago. So little gifts, little acts of service, and the love letters are great as far as communicating your love every day. There's so many more things you can do. If you want to be creative, this book will tell you so many more things you can do other than giving gifts and doing service. There's so many things and areas you can look into.
So it's not intended for us to say, here, honey, read this book. It's maybe us doing it and seeing what we can get out of our spouse?
Absolutely. It's written to husbands and wives, so you can read it together, you can read it individually. It's written with a sense of humor, so you don't have to feel like, you know, here, honey, I hope you like these ideas. It's fun.
You don't highlight it and put big arrows.
No, people do that all the time. I hear. You can leave it in the bathroom by the toilet on your favorite page.
Exactly.
Whatever works for you. But, you know, you'll find that even if you're worried that your spouse isn't going to jump on board with you, you start doing some of these things in this book, and overnight your spouse is just going to reciprocate it right back. Because
let me ask you this. I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you do this if you're not married? Could you do it with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your significant other?
Any relationship that you want to build, you want to connect, you want more bonding, these tips will help you with anything, any relationship. So,
speaking of relationships, in your book you talked about 3 different types of couple. Explain those to me.
Yes, there are 3 couples that commonly get caught in that horrible rut that we don't want to get in. The first one that I define in the book is the M&M couple, married and mundane. And this is your couple, this may sound very familiar, this is your couple that typically gets caught up in dinner and a movie, the same day every weekend, or the same group of people, not breaking it up, not being creative. That can get very, very boring.
Okay.
Your second type is your Trapped by Time couple, the TT couple. This is your couple that there's just never time, whether you've got kids, busy work hours, you just don't have the time to plan, which isn't true. these are all myths. You can still date if you're any one of these couples. The third couple is the budgeting yet broke couple. And this is very common in today's economy, thinking that, oh, we're so tight with money, we can't possibly go out and have a good time. Not true. It's all about creativity and planning and effort.
Yeah.
So I've got over 50 creative date ideas alone in the last chapter that are designed around these types of obstacles. So you can no longer say that's your excuse for not getting out. I have come up with every idea possible to help you get out and have a good time and get to love your spouse.
All right. I'm going to have to read that.
Yes.
Because I've gotten in my poor husband is the most romantic man. He's a prince of a man. And I'm the one. He writes me the notes on the little plate. And
oh, that's sweet.
He does, yeah. And
I want to meet your husband.
Oh, well, you can. And I'm still married to him. I'm not going to wear a ring for 2 weeks, by the way, all of you at home. It's because it's getting a tune-up, but everything's fine.
FYI.
Don't write me emails. So head to abc15.com, look under the Living tab for Lindsay's 6 tips to put the spice back into your relationship, as well as information on where you can buy the book and get all of her juicy details on how you can spice up your marriage or your relationship.